Good evening, folks. That works. Thank you to all of you for coming out in this dark, cold, pre-snow evening. It's Monday, December 11th. This is the Bennington Select Board. We're convened here for our meeting of this first meeting of the month, actually. I'm Tom Jacobs, and I'm the chair, and I'd like to just have you all introduce yourselves. Folks, Jean, maybe?
Hi, I'm Jean Connor.
Good evening, Carson Thurber.
I'm Jim Carroll.
Good evening, I'm Donald Campbell.
Hello, I'm Jeannie Jenkins.
Good evening, Chad Gordon.
Great, thank you, board. Both the board and the audience has got the benefit of me having some computer malfunction, and hopefully we'll get through what I need, because I see there's hard copies around of the various information. I have reviewed it, but unless I remembered page 53, I'll have to defer to my colleagues. So if we could stand, and Chad, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chad. We have a consent agenda that's been circulated. It contains the minutes of the November 20th, 2017 and the November 27th, 2017 meeting, along with the warrants. I've had a chance to review them, both the minutes and warrants, but I would ask my colleagues or someone to make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the consent agenda.
I'm going to abstain from the 20th from being absent.
Great, the minutes will so indicate.
I need to do that as well.
Okay.
I was trying to remember, was Ken Swearad at the meeting on the 20th? Does anybody remember?
Ken Swearad.
Said he was.
Seeing him on video. I did watch it.
Was he? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I thought he maybe had
I-
missed that, but, okay.
Yep, he was here. Having heard the motion and the discussion and the changes relative to abstentions, all in favor of the consent agenda signify aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous, and the agendas will note the abstentions accordingly. We now have a citizens' comment period. We have Jeff Grimshaw, who is going to have the first opportunity to have a conversation with the board, and it's relative to Snowcross, and I guess there's two issues, right? Is that, Jeff? Maybe two and a half.
Two and a half.
Okay.
I'll be brief.
Go ahead, Jeff. Introduce yourself and go from there. Thank you.
First of all, good evening.
Good evening to you, Jeff.
Grimshaw, here in Bennington. Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas and Happy Kwanzaa to all in attendance. I'm wearing a number of hats this evening, and so I'll just put on my first regular person hat. It was announced this week that the Snowcross will not be in Bennington this year. I've talked to all parties involved, and it seems to be about the how the field is treated at Willow Park. And the two parties, the town of Bennington and the Snowcross people, just couldn't get through that. It's no one's fault, but a compatriot of mine named Phil Pappas, who runs the Paradise Inn, we just think that we might have some other options, and so we are endeavoring to talk to a couple of private parties who might be interested in lending their venues and bring this event back. We don't want to manage it. We're just going to try and get parties together and step aside and see if they can negotiate a deal. I have talked with Stu, and he has said, look, if that can happen, we can lend our resources to make this happen. There's an open date in late March or early April to make this happen, but as of now, we're off of the schedule, and the event will not happen. I've heard varying reports. Up to $250,000 of revenue that comes to Bennington from this event will kind of evaporate. So that's a shame, but there is hope, and I will certainly let you know if we can get people together. I will take off that hat.
Can we do anything to help you on that one?
I'm sorry?
Can we do anything to help you?
Just be enthusiastic and cheerlead, and I think that's about what we can do at this point.
Because I've gone through the venue when it was here, and there was a lot of activity, and I'm sure that led to activity in the downtowns as well. So it brings a nice cross-section of folks with their machines and otherwise. It sounds like the challenge is to maintain the quality of the field or the venue post the snow cross. And I believe that, does this be the third year if we had it?
Yes, it would be the third year.
And we've been weather challenged, I think, in all the first two.
Last year,
anyway.
not so much. The first year, very much.
Yeah. So-
And that was their line, but it all came down to the venue. And again, kudos to Stu for trying to accommodate them, but they couldn't find the right mix. And maybe there's a private venue. If anyone knows of a venue, love to hear about it.
That's what I was going to ask you. I didn't know if you were still seeking requests for people to kind of submit an idea of, hosting it at their space. I mean, everyone
Please
kind of
do.
Rolodex through their head, but
Contact me at sovttoday@gmail.com.
How about the lot where Garlic Fest is held?
Well, I don't want to get into, it seems to us that that's a very viable venue, but there's multiple steps in getting there. And without revealing too much, we're in that process.
I join with Carson, because if we can help along the way
Yeah.
with what resources that we can, besides
shame on us if we're going to walk away from
Yeah.
that revenue.
Yeah.
I think we should try to find a way, and it's good you're beating the drum for it.
Okay, well, I'll keep everyone, closely. But we have a little time because it would be at the end of the season. So we have time to do it right if we can get the right players together. And speaking of events and things not going away, I'm going to take off my regular hat, and put on my ownership cap of one of the owners of the Vermont Storm. They asked me to join their ownership team and be their chief marketing officer a few weeks ago. And I thought about it for about that much, and I said, of course. I think it's a great endeavor. I just want to kind of let you know, we talked about Manchester and Bennington, where through the heroics of Jim Carroll and Jim Culkeen, we will be on the MAU school board agenda for the 20th, and we're very heartened at that because we were on the outside looking in before, and if you look at our critical path, we're already kind of into talking about schedule up in Manchester. So I'm gonna kind of lay my cards on the table. We want to play in Bennington. We really, really, really want to play in Bennington, but this is a business, and we can't let it be dictated by, the whims of Bennington in so much as, will it cause damage here, will it, again, so we're going to go where we're loved, and we want to be loved here. So
I expect when you visit with the school authorities that you will have information relative to the benefit of the town, relative to financial income.
absolutely, there's revenue streams to
Yeah.
MAU directly and indirectly to the entire township.
Okay.
Jeff, you want to go down quickly the points of, well, I'll help you out on this. On the games that have been played in town, they're getting approximately 1,000 people that come into Bennington that either may or may not be staying in hotels and motels, but they're eating in Bennington, and that's a lot of revenue for this town.
Well, yeah, and we have a promotional platform in place this year, and we have new sponsors in place this year, and we're looking for other new sponsors that make a lot of sense. Maybe a hospital group, I don't know, that we send a lot of business to with injured players. I don't know.
In addition,
Hi, Carson.
Jeff has offered the school district $1,000 per game.
Well, I don't
But,
want to,
you know,
I'd
yeah.
rather not get into specifics.
Because
No, but I think
it's
people should
beyond
know.
it's beyond our ability to
Yeah.
participate, but at that meeting at the school board, I think, yes.
And if someone want to ask, what can we do for you?
Yeah.
No? Okay. I would just say, if you can, anyone who wants to cheerlead to the MAU board, we would love that. That's it.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I'll be there on the 20th. I'll come for public comments and voice my opinion about it.
You're very kind.
Obviously, I'm a big supporter of football, and any growth of football in Bennington is a good plus. But I'll reach out to you as well. I'd like to have some more conversations about long-term, about turf facilities and how we can partner about long-term in Bennington.
I asked the AD at BBA what the cost of their permanent turf was, and 1.2 million, and I just checked my pockets, I don't have that.
Yeah, no, they luckily had a nice, large donor for that. A
Yeah,
big
they
portion
did.
of it,
That
so
was,
that was
yeah,
nice.
it was lion's share was one donor.
Yeah.
So, okay, can I take off that hat now? And
Please.
Okay. Last piece of business is real quick. Next Tuesday, not tomorrow, but a week from Tuesday, Southern Vermont Today. That's my hat I put on. We're going to announce the results of our poll that we did, a survey, and it looks at Bennington past, present, and future, and attitudes toward Bennington. We leveraged what's called the Likert scale, L-I-K-E-R-T. That's a 5-point measurement scale. Last year, Bennington did a 3. That's not really the standard in market research. The Likert scale is really the standard. So we think we've got a little bit more salient information and a little more focused information to present to you. I'd be happy to present it to you the next meeting, but we're also going to do a video that will be deployed to Southern Vermont today, and you guys will be able to see it. There's some, just to tease it, there's some really good news about the resolve of Bennington. People may not like some things, people may love other things, but at the end of the day, this is a resolute, indomitable group of people that we call Bennington. And so I think, with a big, broad brush, you're going to like the results.
Looking forward to seeing that. We can always use something that'll keep the flame aglow, and appreciate your leadership in that context, and we look forward to hearing.
Very good. And thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Jeff. Dave Crawley. Dave, how are you doing, Dave?
Good, thanks. How are you all?
Good.
I am here this evening to voice my support and appreciation for the efforts that you as the Select Board and Mr. Hurd do for this town. I find you representative and...
We left the gremlins there.
not reverberating, representative of the community and respectful of the people that come before you. I find you both accessible and responsive, and that I truly appreciate. I've been here and I see things that I ask about happen. It's the beauty of small town, and it's the beauty of democratic government. Really, that's it.
Well, thank you for the holiday gift, because we're appreciative of that, those kind words.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. Thanks very much.
We do. Folks do come up to us and say thanks for your service.
Yeah, I think we need a little more public here. I think we need, I hope I'm the first in a long line of people coming up here and telling you how much we appreciate this process and the body. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And don't forget to come with your criticisms or clarion calls. Thanks very much. Joel Letzner, downtown.
I'll try this mic, see if this one's better. Joel.
Good evening.
Hello, in Bennington. If you were watching television Saturday morning on Channel 10 News, you might have seen Lexi Knoll do a great series of features on 6 different Bennington businesses, and on a promotion that the Downtown Bennington Alliance is running during the month of December. If you spend over $10 in any one of over 40 stores in Bennington, you'll be entered in a raffle for, the grand prize is 2 tickets to see Phish on New Year's Eve in New York City at Madison Square Garden, and a night at the Marriott Renaissance in New York. It's a big prize. There are a number of stores that have already sold, gone through all of their tickets, and we've had to replenish them a couple times. It should be it's so far drawn a lot of people downtown and gotten ABC News interested, and it was a great Saturday morning, I think, getting all of the businesses it was like a free commercial spot for all of these businesses if you didn't see it, and it was just a great thing. So I'd like to invite everyone to shop local, and if you're interested in Phish or spending New Year's Eve in New York City, please enter the raffle. It's on until December 22nd.
And that's at all of the participating establishments, Joe?
Absolutely, at all the DBA businesses.
Great. Well, geez, that's thanks. Again, those are the things that make our little town hub roar. Thank you for that holiday
Absolutely,
greeting.
it's fun.
Thank you.
These are the raffle tickets that you can pick up at the stores.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Rose Telford on the, come on up, Rose. It's a pleasure visiting with you.
I just wanted to find out.
This is Rose Telford, who's a
Yes,
Bennington
ma'am.
resident. And go ahead, and she's a...
In North Bennington, I live in
Yep,
North Bennington.
yep.
I just wanted to know, we applied to get more people to help us at the senior center. And,
What's the status? Is that what you're questioning?
yeah, why
Yeah,
can't we need somebody.
okay. Maybe,
I'm getting tired and.
yeah, I think there are a lot of folks that are
I'm not getting
tired.
paid.
Jeannie, could you just maybe give us a very brief update on, you had some discussion with the folks at the seniors?
Well, I mean, Zawad and I had a very well-attended meeting at the senior center. Maybe 60 people came, and Zawad, I'm welcome to come up if you want to speak as well. And what came out of that was that there was interest in having a much broader array of opportunities available that included trips to places that weren't currently available or they hadn't been in a while, as well as things like connecting more with high school and college students and looking at ways to maybe have some help in the winter, shoveling, just community service types of things. So there was a wide-ranging conversation, and the upshot was that the advisory group, chaired by Steve, I'm blanking on Steve Smith,
Yeah.
is in the process of putting together a survey to go out to everyone that attended, plus anyone else that would like to comment, and just give more information on the kinds of activities they would like to see pursued. And Zawad, I'm going to turn it over to you at that point.
Yeah, Rose, could you be a bit more specific about what
Yeah,
application?
you might just get a little closer, I guess everything works. Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
So I think the main feedback that we got was at that listening session. Rose, I'm not sure which specific application for volunteers or additional staffing.
We need extra staff and help.
So I'm not sure that a formal request has come to Zerwatt for that. So I think Sue Hogue is really the person who would request that, and I would suggest that maybe that's a good place to start the conversation.
So as Jeannie just highlighted, I think I put together a list of what were some of the main concerns and areas in which we could probably improve, not just programming, but the ways in which we're catering to the needs of the senior community. And it was everything from transportation to assistance with various kinds of assistance at the home. And I know I've been trying to collect, examples of places nearby that there's a facility that's something that's done with helping seniors at home with their repairs and maintenance. And we're trying to see what that would look like to create and implement in Bennington. It unfortunately does not happen overnight. I'm trying to see if we can, the SASH coordinator for Shires Housing is interested in doing more programming for seniors at the senior center. I contacted the senior center director about a group in Cambridge that does different kinds of exercise bikes and programming around, like video programs that kind of create these immersive experiences. So some of it is just figuring out how to coordinate some of that with the director of the senior center between our two offices, and some of it is just figuring out, who is available to do some of that programming here.
Do you realize most of the people that are there have had knee replacements, hip replacements, they can't get on a bicycle and ride, or
Yeah,
I don't
but
think they want to.
I don't think we'll probably get into the specifics of the rehab, but
And
I
these
do
are
think-
specifically bikes that are
Yeah,
designed as
right.
rehab bikes
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think the intention is to force anything.
Right.
It's just a
Yeah.
question of, with transportation, I've been in contact with Green Mountain Express to see how we can provide better destinations and trips. So, going back and forth between the senior center and the town office is an ongoing process.
And I think probably we should have the director, Ms. Hoag, she's in the part, she should be delivering the message, and I expect she probably will have discussion and has discussion
I'm doing
with
it
your
on my
office. So
own.
we're going to leave it with Stu and his...
There actually is, in her budget was a request for 2 assistant part-time folks.
There you go.
Unfortunately, it didn't make the first cut, but we're not
Okay.
done yet, so.
Okay. Thanks, Stu. That's good. Okay. Rose,
It's just like the bus, now the bus trips, they're willing to do that. In one sentence, in the next sentence, they don't want to bring people to the mall. That's what seniors like to do. I mean, all this other silliness isn't what they want to do.
and I think that's actually what that survey is going to demonstrate, the need, and then how we will meet that need. But you're right, seniors are probably our most
Nothing
important
that
assets.
hasn't been discussed before.
Right.
It's,
Yeah. Don't get tired, keep volunteering, keep
I'm
doing what you're
tired.
doing. Okay.
I'm not getting anywhere, and I'm very discouraged.
Well, thank you,
Because it
Rose.
seems like the seniors don't matter. That's
Yeah.
really how I feel, so I might
Okay.
just say it. There, I said it.
There are many of us seniors around, so we hope that we'll be at least listened to. Jerry Bird. Jerry? Oh, there you are, Jerry. Thanks. Good evening.
Good evening. Jerry Bird from Bennington. I'm here representing a small group of people that meet every other Mondays. We call ourselves the Spirit of Bennington, and it's a small meditation prayer group, if you want to call it that, that focuses on our community and the energy here. So, I talked to Stu a couple of months ago and asked him if we could borrow your logo. He said, well, I don't know. So, here, what we did is this. We kind of hijacked a little bit of it. On the back, we have some of the thing about blessing Bennington, and then a small little practice that you can do moment by moment. And I've already handed out about 200 of these to Second Congregation, the UU, St. Peter's, hopefully St. Francis tomorrow, and a number of businesses in town. And they all took them excitedly. So I wanted to give one of these to each of you and let you know that this kind of thing is going on and is growing. Our little group continues to grow, and we continue to urge our people to bring the books from the Bennington bookshop. So if I may give one of these to you,
Sure.
let you know.
I actually picked up one at the South Street Cafe this morning, not to give anybody an extra plug, but and it looked to me to be very interesting, meditative in form and quality, and the quality of the material I have to defer to the public and my colleagues, but certainly if you'd like to share one with us, it would be great.
That'd be great, and I'd like to second Dave's opinion of you. The Apple Hill Gang made that.
We're not going to get into...
Okay, I'm not going to say anything, okay. But I want to say that made it completely apparent how much you all work for our community. And I feel honored to be able to even address you this.
So, thank you, Jerry. We're honored to have you.
Tom, before you move on, Mike, is there anything, there's a little feedback thing that goes on between those two mics. Is there anything we can do sort of in between here before we
step up? That's a great idea.
Before we move up?
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
Thank you. That's cool.
No, is there a feedback between those two mics going on? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll put a humidifier between them or something.
Okay.
Great. We have a presentation, Heart Safe Community Plaque presentation, and I think this comes through the benefit of the Bennington Rescue Squad. Is someone here to talk with us about that? Or anyone, everyone, you all come up if you'd like.
My name is Lindsay Simpson. I'm from the EMS office. I'm the EMS training administrator. Would you
Hi,
like
Lindsay.
me to stand here for the presentation of the award, or
You probably might want to just get a little closer to the mic, because unfortunately, we hear you, but I don't think the CAT TV folks, right, Mike?
Okay. Well, am I close enough?
Thank you,
now?
you're perfect. That's great.
Should I repeat what I had said?
Yeah,
For the benefit?
please.
All right.
Thanks.
So my name is Lindsay Simpson. I'm from the EMS office. I'm the state EMS training administrator. And I have the pleasure tonight of presenting the Heart Safe Community Award to the folks here at Bennington Rescue and to the community of Bennington. So the Heart Safe Community Award is actually a very special award. It means that this community has taken time to learn CPR, to be taught CPR, and to put AEDs around the city so that the recovery and resuscitation from sudden cardiac arrest can be improved. So there are not very many cities in the state of Vermont that have the Heart Safe Community Award, and there are not many cities across the country that have the Heart Saver Award. So sudden cardiac arrest happens to roughly 500,000 people per year. And if you live here in Bennington, you run a much higher chance of being resuscitated if you drop dead. So it's a really special thing that you've got going here. So it gives me great pleasure to share with you this award for the
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you for that. That's also a nice gift. That's a wonderful gift to the community. Thank you. Now we have the another event. I don't want to call it the main event because everyone is important to us. And we're talking about the BCIC Workforce and Education presentation. And the request for this was predicated upon the fact that in Bennington, we hear about the need for jobs and opportunities that do or do not exist. And frankly, I've seen a lot of enthusiasm and spirit brought to bear, basically on the fact that there are opportunities, there are jobs, but in the same context, how do we assure the community that the businesses that are here have the workforce to meet the demand? Because this is not something that's always been true in Bennington. I know at election time how many questions to the candidates are, we need more jobs. And frankly, we can always use more jobs, but we need to have a workforce and jobs that are quality. We can't survive on minimum wage jobs for a vibrant community. Tonight we have a panel, and thankfully Jeannie and Bill have coordinated. The panel, I think, is for a discussion between the board, the community, and themselves. But I would like to hear where we're at, what do we have, what resources do we need to add to the mix, and where do we go from here?
Great.
I turn it over to Bill.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you to the board and to the audience and folks at home. We will do our best to make this an event. So, thank you very much. So the structure for the evening that we had discussed was, I'd like to do just a brief overview of where the contractual agreement between the town of Bennington and BCIC stands, 3 or 4 minutes. Then we'd like to hear from a couple of local employers who are facing workforce challenges and also have multiple opportunities, looking at them in the future, and then culminate this with an update on the things that BCIC Workforce and Ed Committee, chaired by Wendy Morse and Jeannie, are doing in many ways to try to address many of the issues on workforce in the community. So if that makes sense.
Certainly is. Thank you. Yep, step off.
So I would remind the board, I think, and the community that the BCIC and Town of Bennington entered into an agreement for BCIC to provide economic development services to the Town of Bennington commencing July 1st, 2017. In large part, this was done to reduce redundancy, increase and leverage limited resources, and really allow organizations focused on some portion of economic development to do the things that they're best at doing. So for BCIC, that meant really kind of 4 big buckets on behalf of the Town of Bennington. Business visitation and support, primarily focused on larger employers in the manufacturing and service realm. Workforce development and career exposure activities, which we'll hear a lot more about tonight. Entrepreneurial ecosystem development and regional economic development capacity and coalition building. So this freed up the town through its community development department to focus on community development activities and the things that are available to municipalities in terms of tools and resources, things like the revolving loan fund, things like sponsoring community development block grants, things like promoting the opportunity for a TIF and the like. It allows the downtown organization to focus on downtown businesses and property owners, and it allows the chamber and merchant groups to focus on marketing. So we really felt that was a much cleaner approach to doing comprehensive economic development within the community without a lot of overlap. So BCIC is the coordinator of many of the activities that we're going to talk about tonight. It performs some of these activities itself, but really serves as an umbrella organization that relies on volunteers, board members, and the like to perform many of these activities. So while we have 2.5 people at BCRC working full-time on these and other economic development activity, it's really about a much broader net. I just want to hit on some highlights on some of those buckets before we talk about workforce and ed, beginning with business visitations and support. And really, under our agreement, that means going out to 40 or more Bennington businesses throughout the course of the year, meeting with them, trying to understand what their opportunities are, what challenges they're facing, and really coalescing this information to begin to identify trends and opportunities. It also is about linking those businesses with resources that are available locally or regionally or throughout the state. And a couple of real successes have been realized since the agreement began in July. The state of Vermont maintains the Vermont Training Program to assist in workforce training for employers in the state of Vermont. There's a total pool of $1.2 million available in the Vermont Training Program statewide, and all of that money is available on the one-to-one match. So every dollar awarded is matched by a dollar from the local employer in that training. To date, through an award to NSK, Bennington has secured $281,497 of that $1.2 million. We're in the final stages for another Bennington employer of a $76,000 grant, and we have 2 more in the pipeline for totaling over $300,000. So all told, Bennington this year has a very real possibility of pulling down more than half of the total statewide allocation of Vermont Training Program funds to benefit local employers. So why is this important? Well, it's important because it shows not only the opportunity for Bennington to bring resources in to aid its employers, but it shows the commitment of those employers to do training of local employees, securing those jobs in Bennington and creating opportunities for new ones. Because again, that's if all of that money is realized here, that's a $600,000 investment by Bennington area employers in their workforce to maintain a strong workforce in the community. And I would juxtapose that against the total amount that came to Bennington County in the 5 years prior in Vermont Training Program funds was just over $12,000. So this year we're looking at $600,000. $12,000 has been the total amount in the prior 5 years. And that has resulted in over 100 jobs in the manufacturing sector now available in the community. Folks looking to bring in new employees and really are, as you'll hear tonight, trying to deal with the workforce issues to do that. So we're going to hear a lot more about workforce development. A couple of brief highlights in the entrepreneurial ecosystem opportunity. So through the agreement this year, BCIC and BCRC secured a grant from the Vermont Community Foundation to provide additional capacity to the Lightning Jar, our local co-working facility in Bennington. And we're really looking at securing the Lightning Jar as the hub for entrepreneurial activity in the Bennington region. So one of the challenges there was having capacity to promote things such as the speaker series and really just promoting the Lightning Jar as an opportunity overall. Bennington, BCIC, a couple of BCIC board members and the Lightning Jar and the Chamber cooperated to promote the Bennington version of Road Pitch, which is a statewide competition which brings venture capitalists around the state on motorcycles to hear pitches from local entrepreneurs. And we're delighted to this year to announce that the winner of the Bennington competition also won the statewide competition and secured some venture capital from Fresh Tracks Capital. To a person, the riders who made the circuit, and we were the second to last stop, said without question the presentations by the entrepreneurs in Bennington were the strongest anywhere in the state. And we don't think that's an accident. There was an ongoing coaching program by board members of the Lightning Jar, supported by BCIC and the Chamber, to ensure that those entrepreneurs had ample opportunity to practice and perfect those pitches. And we think it played out in spades on August 2nd when the Road Pitch crew was in town. We also have a huge success through the launching of the Ice House Entrepreneurship Program, which is a program produced by the Kaufman Foundation, which is one of the leading promoters of entrepreneurial activity in the country. And we're fortunate to have J.J. Williams of Williams Financial in Bennington, who is a certified facilitator of this training. He has tremendous experience teaching this program as part of his entrepreneurial development teaching and work in New York State, and he agreed to do it gratis here in Bennington. So we were able to launch our first class about 6 weeks ago. We have a steering committee made up of people from the Lightning Jar, BCIC, and all three local colleges, Community College, Southern Vermont College, and Bennington College, and they have all played significant roles, including CCV, who has assisted in registering people and is providing space for the class. We had 12 participants in the first year, which is really the ideal, this first class, which is the ideal really class size for this, as they play off one another. And really, this program is about testing an idea and a concept, getting out into the community and seeing if it has legs. So there are a number of successful outcomes, one of which is realizing this is not a business venture that somebody should invest a lot of money into at this time. That's a win if somebody doesn't leverage credit cards and spend a whole bunch of money promoting a business idea that isn't solid. But we're not finding that in this particular case. So the current students represent the business categories. 5 are service providers, 4 are product providers, and 3 are in the intellectual capacity realm. 5 have already launched businesses, and 8, I know that adds up to more than 12, are planning to launch additional businesses or new businesses in the next 6 months. So we think this is a huge win. We had a steering committee meeting today and are already planning for the spring event and potentially looking at having this roll out as a model that Bennington will bring to the state of Vermont as an opportunity for entrepreneurship development. And then finally, quickly, in regional economic development capacity and coalition building, many of you will recall the recommendations of the Southern Vermont Economic Development Zone Report, which said the Bennington region needs to increase capacity for doing regional economic development in order to partner with Windham County to perhaps create the first ever comprehensive economic development strategy for Southern Vermont, really creating a critical mass of business opportunity across all of Southern Vermont. And we're happy to report that on both fronts, the establishment of what is called the RED Group, Regional Economic Development Group, in Bennington County, with about 30 people, primarily from the private sector, have come together to begin and really have built that capacity in the Bennington region. And we're further delighted to announce that the RED Group, working with Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation and the equivalent of the RED Group in Windham County, the Southeast Vermont Economic Development Strategy Board, secured a $70,000 grant from the Economic Development Administration, and right after the new year we'll begin to launch work on the first ever comprehensive economic development strategy across Southern Vermont. So Windham County agreed we had built the capacity, the Economic Development Administration agreed we had built the capacity, and we're excited to begin that work to bring a stronger economy to the two southernmost counties in Vermont. Finally, there are other things listed in the agreement. BCIC, working on behalf of the town, sponsors workshops, partners, and provides financial assistance to the Department of Labor for the Career and Job Expo in the fall and spring. Maintains industrial site database listing all of the available industrial sites so that those are seen statewide and that folks working at the Vermont Department of Economic Development can see what properties are available in Bennington for potential businesses. And as we all know, BCIC has played a critical role in the Putnam project, stepping up as the interim owner for those properties and allowing the opportunity to leverage additional public resources to help move that project forward. So really, those are just a couple of highlights from each of the buckets. We feel like this has been, in its initial year, a significant success in providing really targeted economic development support to the town of Bennington, and really, we think, helping to clarify significant, some of the roles and who's doing what with regard to economic development in Bennington.
Great presentation, discussion, feed in. Would you prefer if we just hold our discussion until everybody's
Yeah, so I think
Yep.
we're all happy to address questions
Yep.
after, but
Yep.
we invited this evening really a couple of BCIC board members and
Great.
local employers to talk about what they're seeing, feeling, living every day in with regard to workforce and their business opportunities. So I'll begin to my immediate left with James Lerno of Hale Mountain Research. I think many of you know the story. James was employed by Plasan locally when they decided to relocate their business out of Bennington and out of Vermont. And James stayed behind and launched Hale Mountain Research. So we thought it would be valuable to hear from somebody at the relatively early stages of business growth and kind of hear what he sees with regard to workforce development in the region. James?
Great. Thanks.
So, I'll give you a short overview of our activities for the past 3 years. For the first 2 years, Hale Mountain Research was in operation. We were a design and consulting company. That was it. That was all. It was very good margins. It was just me working out of my house. 2 years after starting the consultancy, I was able to grow that into a small team. We were providing services and prototypes for automotive OEMs, tech giants, defense contractors. So really built a cool little shop for myself there. Currently employing 2 people and looking at adding a part-time bookkeeper, accountant type role, hopefully early next year. That gets us just about caught up to now. So far, my recruitment was done by word of mouth, people that I've worked with in the past and had a good rapport with, friends of friends, recommendations, very grassroots, nothing complicated. And the way I've been able to retain my team of highly skilled employees and kind of grow it was paying competitive wages, giving my employees a clear roadmap on here's where you are now, here's what you need to do, here's how you can grow within the company, and you know, just giving them some transparency about where the company is headed and why I'm asking them to do all of these interesting things with advanced machinery and things like that. Late this year, a project that I've been working on for the past 3 years has come to a head. That is a joint venture with an aerospace company that's based in Connecticut. In rough terms, we're looking at $1 to $2 million in capital expense and adding 8 to 12 employees early next year, as early as we can get them. So you see how my word of mouth and friends of friends is going to run into a wall of how I've built my workforce so far. Now, I know there's temp agencies in the area that, you know, I can avail myself of their services. There's various, you know, high-end recruiting firms that, you know, you can go out and have headhunted, but a lot of these, you know, options are either too expensive to find the perfect fit, or you know, the skills that I'm looking for are too narrow, the type of employee that I'm looking for is too narrow to really have a temp agency make sense. This is a small enough company, even at this joint venture stage, that we can't afford a false start with 1 or 2 folks. We can't afford to, hire 20 thinking that 15 of them are going to work out. It would kill our operating margins. So the way I see it, one of the big wins that we could have in this region would be developing some more specific workforce training initiatives for the key industries in this area. We have the Certified Production Training Technician program through CCV. That's something that I've sent one of my employees to. That program is fantastic. Some of it was review because that employee did come from a long manufacturing background, but a lot of it helped her step into a new role, more responsibilities, higher pay rate at my company. But where am I going to come up with 8 CNC machinists? Right? Where are those folks going to come from? I don't want to build a reputation for myself locally as somebody who poaches talent. So this is something that's very concerning for me long term. And that's just the first 8 folks that I have to hire. What about the year after that, the year after that? I know there was some talk of a CNC training program at the CDC some time ago. I'm not familiar with where that's left off. But if we look over the border at, our CCV's counterpart in New York, Hudson Valley Community College, they have programs right now where they're graduating 51 CNC operators per year, nearly full classes. 75% of the people in the program graduate. 65% of the freshman class has a job by the end of the first year, and 100% of the people that are in the class get placed, or that graduate get placed somewhere. So there's a pipeline, and the pipeline leads somewhere. It leads to higher paying niche jobs, something that, you look at GS Precision over in Brattleboro, you see, huge aerospace company, huge machine shop. You look at a lot of similar companies in New York, Cambridge, Fraunhofer, these folks are right on our doorstep. So I feel like we would reap some great benefits long term if we came up with a plan to address that knowledge gap. Similarly, I know in the past we've done a composites apprenticeship program. I was slated to teach a portion of that. I'm not sure where that left off. Everything unfolded the way it did with my former employer. But we have the infrastructure here to teach these people and build these courses. I'd like to see us start using it.
James, thanks very much. James has left. I think everybody knows Dixie Zenz, one of the founders of Abacus Automation, and I think most everybody's familiar with the story of Dixie and Don starting in the garage and moving ultimately to the incubator facility that BCIC used to maintain in North Bennington, and then on to the Morse Industrial Park, and then with the support of the town and BCIC into the Shields Drive Industrial Park to their very successful new facility. So Dixie and Don represent a real success story for Bennington, and it's been one of our long-standing quality employers. So Dixie?
Thanks, Coach. We are about where James was 30 years ago, and we've been very fortunate to have great folks that have been able to come and work with us. Workforce has always been an issue. It's with these high-tech jobs like James is alluding to. You need people that are smart, innovative, and are willing to work, and there are plenty of those around. If anybody's lacking the knowledge of where they can find them, they can come up to Abacus anytime. We've got tons of great people working with us. But when we have to fill new jobs, we tried RPI graduates for a lot of our design positions and programming positions, and They were terrific for the 2 years they stayed here, just got proficient, and then because they wanted to go to concerts, they wanted these young folks, they didn't find enough here in Bennington to keep them here. We tried to get every one of them married, but didn't. But, you know, you marry a local girl and they might stick around. We weren't very successful that way. So we have developed our own training positions, and we have some programmers that started out of the CDC as wiring technicians and then working their way up through programming. And I put them up against any programmers in the world today. They are terrific. They're very innovative. We did all this internally, and it was kind of by stepping up and giving them a little more responsibility, that's how they learned. Some of our designers are degreed engineers. Others came through high school and came through our drafting program and got into checking to check all the designs, and then we give them little pieces of design, and now they're terrific designers too. So the challenges I see in Bennington for workforce development are for the higher level young people to have, and I know that there's a lot going on that's trying to improve Bennington right now and make it more appealing to young people. I'd like my kids to move back here. One is in Hawaii and the other one is in San Diego, and try to get them to come back here, and they're a little hesitant to do that. Once they get married and have kids, they'll be right back, I'm sure, because it's one of the best places to raise a family, and safe and wonderful place. So, you know, I think that I get exhausted when I hear how much Jeannie is doing in our workforce development. She has like 27 programs going on each day, and they're all different. And she does an amazing job at workforce development and working with Bill at BCIC. We're very proud of all the work that is done in our workforce development. The CDC is a great resource for new employees, and there's training programs. I know there's seems to be a tendency to everyone's got to get a bachelor degree, but some of our best folks are right out of the high school here, and I encourage that. Bill?
Dixie, thank you. Thanks very much. And as Dixie alluded, we're very fortunate to have Jeannie and Wendy as co-chairs of the now Southern Vermont chapter of the Workforce and Education Committee. This year we launched a Northshire chapter as well, part of our regional economic development capacity building. Pauline Moore from the town of Manchester has been a regular attendee at the Southshire events, and we decided that at least as an initial step, having a separate workforce and ed committee in the Northshire focused on Northshire specific issues probably made sense. We're sharing a lot of resources, including as co-chair. Wendy is the co-chair of the Northshire chapter as well. So as I noted, BCIC provides some direct services, but really relies on board members, 4 of whom are sitting at this table, to do a lot of the heavy lifting out in the community. There's a tremendous amount of work, and it relies on a lot of hands to do that work. Jeannie and Wendy certainly roll up their sleeves and dive into that every day. So in your packet was an overview of the Workforce and Education Committee initiatives currently ongoing, and we thought Wendy and Jeannie could address those in whatever way you feel best to kind of give an update to the board.
Great.
So,
Thanks, Wendy.
is that better?
Perfect.
I think it's going to move. So we thought it would be best to start by sharing some stats on what our current challenges are with our workforce. It's no great mystery that our current economy is really strong, which means that our unemployment rate is quite low. Our unemployment rate for Bennington for October is at 3.2%. For the state, it's 2.9. 3.2 even for Bennington is lower than the national numbers that just came out at 4.1. What does that mean exactly? So
Bennington's total labor force is 11,150, of which 10,750 are employed, leaving only a total pool of 350 that are currently unemployed as a percent of the workforce. So that's incredibly low numbers. I've been with Department of Labor for almost 16 years, and I think this is the lowest the unemployment rate has ever been. There's good and bad with that. The good part is that, of course, the economy is so strong. The biggest challenge right now is that employers, such as James and such as Dixie, are finding it a little bit more difficult to recruit talent. We are hearing that everywhere. That coupled with kind of the other piece, which is the lower labor force participation rate. It's actually declining nationally, and that is certainly true of Vermont and of Bennington. So one of the things that we really are working on within the Workforce and Ed group is really to try to make sure that we have a prepared workforce, whether the economy is really strong like it is now, at all levels, or whether it declines and unfortunately people are losing their jobs. We want to be able to make sure that people understand what pathways are available, so that as those jobs come back, we then have that talent pipeline again. So the Workforce and Ed Committee really does work from a K through adult continuum, and we have a significant amount of projects that this group has really taken on. And I will note that the amazing work that's been coming out of the Workforce and Ed group did get statewide recognition, particularly this past spring with Career Month, which used to be Career Week, and now I'm not even sure we could get everything into a month. So Jeannie, you want to talk about
a little bit on either side?
Absolutely.
Yes, okay. So the South Shore Workforce and Ed group is a working group in the best sense of the word. It is a place where people come freely. We have between 15 and 18 individuals representing colleges, schools, business employers, and agencies every single month. And the only reason you come to this group is if you want to do work. I think we focus on both growing our own and looking at strategies for bringing new talent in. We're looking at increasing awareness of career opportunities. We're connecting individuals both with employment and pre-employment opportunities. We are developing programs to bring talent in. We support business startups, and we do a lot of problem solving, and that often is around business challenges that come to us. I'm just thinking, seeing you, James. One of the things that we're working on right now is that the training funds for the state tend to favor large companies. So NSK can apply for those funds, but it's very hard for smaller companies to send single employees for training. So a small group of us, including 2 local employers, have been meeting for, several months now, and working with Representative Bill Botso to come up with some tweaks to the current training funds proposals so that we can get smaller employers into this funding. We haven't gone into marriage counseling yet, but I think that's a really good strategy, Dixie. What you have in front of you are sort of our front burner issues that are of initiatives that we're working on. And I want to just give you a way to sort of look at what we're doing. The first 3 programs that are listed under adult are really what we would consider pipelines to specific types of employment. So as James mentioned earlier, the certified production technician is to support manufacturing in this area. It's a way that either incumbent workers can increase their skill, or people that are interested in moving into manufacturing can get the initial training and certification to be more employable. We have a certified public bookkeeper program that's a similar situation in that we have many people in our community, and we found this in the North and South Shire, who have accounting or bookkeeping backgrounds, largely self-taught. So this is a way to gain certification and some formal training and move individuals out of sort of the underground economy into positions where they actually we build capacity for those kinds of skills in our area. The apprenticeship program is something that Wendy has been deeply involved in. We need to bring back apprenticeships in areas like plumbing and electrical. There are many reasons why it's hard to do, but Wendy is persevering and we're making headway on that. We had someone come to us just this past month to talk about a need for apprentices and other training in green energy industry right now, for everything from auditors, for energy auditors to people doing construction and contracting. We tend to bring people from Rutland County into Bennington to do that work. We don't have certified people and very many certified companies here. So it's another area where we really want to focus that. So those are pipelines to specific kinds of positions that we are trying to promote. We have 5 colleges and a tech center here, so we have a lot of opportunity to do training and education, and there is real value, I think, in building sort of that broad capacity of a well-skilled workforce where with a broad range of interests that that will serve us well. We've been working on a paid internship program to augment the very robust high school and college internship programs that we already have. So this would really be looking at individuals post-college or who might have not gone to college but would like to do paid internships to both get into the market and also to see to try out different careers. It's an opportunity. Mac Molding in Arlington has done a fabulous job of building an internship program where they invite individuals in their summer vacation to come and do a paid internship, and then once those individuals graduate, they're in a position to work for Mac. They already know the company, they know the area, they've decided whether it's a place they can stay more than 2 years or not, and so that we want to replicate something along those lines. The Career and Job Expo the Department of Labor is deeply involved in is something that we'd love to expand that so that we have a robust internship component as part of that. So you're looking for internships and jobs, and they're all paid positions. K to high school, we do a heck of a lot of work in the school system. Much of it is exploratory, career exploration in approach. We work pretty significantly with area high schools, both North and South Shire, particularly sophomores. 10th grade is the golden year. We work with sophomores in the fall. We have a financial reality fair that's hosted by Southern Vermont College, and it's an opportunity for kids to choose a career, pay down a paycheck, and learn and have the opportunity to upgrade their skills and find out if you get more education or training, what does that do for your job opportunities and your salary. In the spring, we do a sophomore career summit. Again, it's for all the sophomores in the county, and meets at Bennington College, and we have career panels, which these guys have all been on, where professionals talk about different career options, and kids get a chance, again, to ask questions of professionals. We also have an Emerging Leaders program, which is a year-long program at community college that builds connections between education and careers, and it culminates in a 40-hour internship with funding from the Department of Labor. It also works with Department of Labor staff, and so builds that capacity in the community, which I think is fantastic. We've been asked to create an 11th grade experience, which we are now looking at how the colleges and Department of Labor can work together to create something for juniors.
And I just want to add too that a lot of these, actually all of these events through the high school and middle school really tie into the PLP work that is required under Act 77, which is really, it's been a benefit because we have a lot of the folks from the schools that actively participate in these groups.
And in fact, they're coming, the personalized learning program folks are coming next month to Workforce and Ed to talk about what they're doing and how it connects, you know, and those connections. So yes, there are very strong connections. All the 7th graders, so we're working with 7th graders at the middle school, and this year they are all going to get to come out to either, they'll get to visit CCV, SVC, and Bennington College are involved, and they'll get to go to 2 of those 3 colleges and sort of going and doing events during a day. Also, the colleges go in and talk with kids at the middle school, and actually Manchester Elementary and Middle School is involved in some programming through CCV as well. So, and then we have elementary school. There's not enough. So there is a new challenge this year called the Shires Business Challenge, which actually is an outgrowth of Bennington Elementary School, where kids will create businesses and then sell their wares at a business fair. This year it will be at Bennington Elementary, Pownell Elementary, and Manchester Elementary and Middle School. And in all 3 cases, they will have startup funds that are, because the hospital was interested in this program, worked with us to write a grant to the Department of Labor, who is going to help fund the materials and create a revolving loan fund. So the kids will borrow money from the fund and buy their materials, and then when they sell them, they pay back their loan. And if they have any extra, it goes into, you know, the school's activities fees, which is super. So, you know, so there are a lot of, we're trying to hit different levels in the school system to both build buy-in for what does it mean to think about a career and what are the connections between education and careers, but also to let kids and families know what is available in this community, because there's quite a bit. So, you know, that culminates in the April Career Month, and I'll stop there. Yeah.
And as Wendy noted, April Career Month was picked up by the Vermont Department of Economic Development, voted statewide as a best practice. So the Bennington region was really recognized for all of the work that pulls together on an annual basis, which is really heavily focused in April, spanning from K through adult. So we're very proud of that. So I think with that, we'd be happy to address any questions the board.
Great. Thanks. Great presentation. It makes you feel good because you hear a lot of these things, you know, anecdotally or here or there, but hearing it from the employers and for the providers of the oversight and the programs, it sort of starts to see how it all comes together. You know, it's almost from the cradle to the grave. Maybe you're working towards that. I don't want to watch out of the prenatal department up in. Anyway, it's really exciting. And I think it's a demonstration that there is both interest and ability to meet the needs. And James has got, you know, obviously some real critical timeline needs. And the question is how we go about supporting that, making sure that those needs are met. Reflecting back to 30 years ago and how you know, came out of the garage to the incubator site, it's obvious that your workforce has been evolving based upon a litmus test that you've sort of created for your employees. They didn't all have to be engineers, but they had to have a work ethic. And that's something that James is looking for, and that's something you have developed. I see that with workforce and education, that helps in creating that ethics.
Well, the folks in Bennington that are working with us that maybe came through the high school, all have a great attitude, and that's the biggest factor that we look for. And all the rest of our board members agree that if we have someone that's got a good attitude and is willing to learn, all these employers here are willing to teach, create higher paying jobs than a person might get if they just went on their own, or to go to a fast food place or something. But the jobs that James intends to create are really high-tech, high-paying jobs, and that's what our community needs.
They're going to create that atmosphere downtown at the restaurants and the other activities to make you want to stay here, be here, and do things here as a family or even individuals. But I think you've sort of created or demonstrated it's not really a chicken and the egg. You can have both in running in parallel track. And with the enthusiasm of the state and the education workforce, I think we can accomplish that. I've monopolized. Folks, would you care to weigh in? There's a lot of good stuff here.
Sure, yeah, that was amazing. I knew there was a lot going on, but I wasn't aware of all of this information, so I'm kind of overwhelmed. It's really amazing. I had a question. I'm grateful that I have a job, but if someone were interested in finding out about opportunities that were coming, whether they wanted to move here or currently live here, how would they access this information?
Yeah, so, I think that's an ongoing discussion that we have all the time. Obviously, the Vermont Department of Labor has the Vermont Job Movement still.
Yeah.
So, which is always a possibility, but I think we talked about, what are the other opportunities, particularly targeting niche industries to promote those, and we're certainly hoping that as part of our work across southern Vermont, as we start to get larger mass and more opportunities in particular sectors. I think James talked about kind of training for targeted sectors. I think the industry standard is workforce talent pipeline management. How do you, if there's a particular need for engineers, how do you, as a region, go out and make those opportunities known? What are the tools for doing that? So I think that's evolving, and I'm optimistic that part of our work with Windham County we begin to address those, and I think in more meaningful ways.
But right now, contacting the Department of Labor would be the way to go. Okay, that's great. When you were talking about the statistics on unemployment, did you have statistics on the underemployed?
I don't have statistics on the underemployed. I can tell you, though, that, with that kind of the unemployment rate is something that people, are constantly challenging. Well, really the unemployment rate's probably twice that. Well, you're right, it could be probably twice that. However, twice that is still low compared to where we were, just 4 or 5 years ago. But the underemployed is one of those categories of folks that we have always found it challenging to try to reach. I do think that there's a fair amount of folks that are out there working, and because they're working maybe 1 or 2 jobs, are finding it difficult to access services or turn to resources that may be available to help them retrain or tool up for some of these other jobs that are available. So that is definitely a challenge.
So, okay. The other thing I'm just going to mention is my daughter went to Champlain College, and they have an entrepreneurship program. You probably already know about it. Okay. I just didn't think if they would be a resource at all for how to develop or structure an entrepreneurial program.
Well, and certainly they're in our sights for sort of, as we build the internship program, we would love to be able to include Champlain as one of the places where we're actively recruiting summer interns.
Yeah, or just use them as a resource.
Yeah.
They have a particularly successful program in the gaming industry in terms of game creation. But I would note that CCB, Bennington College, and Southern Vermont College also have pretty strong business curriculum. Bennington College was written up by Forbes magazine as one of the most entrepreneurial colleges in the country. So I think we have some real opportunities right here in our backyard as well.
Yeah, I'm sure we do.
To broaden broaden that net.
I know the one at Champlain, it wasn't, I mean, I think there is a major that's an entrepreneurship major, but I think there's money available for any student who wants to start up a business outside of their major. And some of them have really been very, very successful. So thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate a thorough presentation.
Good, well done.
Yeah, I'm feeling particularly happy with the BCIC investment tonight. You know, just that employer training number alone is really staggering, and thank you for sharing that. And thank you also for coming and making it a little bit real for us from the employer side. Wendy, I'm interested, you mentioned that there's a lower labor force participation rate. Is that a national trend that we are kind of going along with? Is it a demographic trend? Is that rate of available workers, or what's that look like to Bennington?
So it is definitely a national trend of a lowering labor force participation rate. The unfortunate thing is that the lower labor force participation rate isn't just specific to one demographic sector. It actually crosses all populations and all genders right now. And it's a stat that has been actually on the decline for probably the last 10 or so years, according to our LMI chief, Matt Barowitz. It is something that I'm convinced we can change. There are a number of factors of why people are no longer working and they could work. One of those is something that probably is a little bit more challenging to fix, which is we have a lowering population rate. There's not as many people that are being born as there were 20 years ago, and that will certainly influence that rate. Department of Labor has been charged with taking the lead on changing that number, and so there's a number of different strategies that I think that we will be using in the future that will definitely we'll be working with and on the local level as well.
So that rate is a rate of all population, not of eligible workers.
The labor force participation rate essentially represents people that have the ability and are in the age to work, which is 16 to 64, and are choosing not to become employed. So those that can work, but are choosing not to work, that are in that age category.
I see. And that's exactly what this stuff is meant to move the needle on, these various programs that you've had.
And if you listen to the National Jobs Report last Friday was the National Jobs hiring numbers. I think it was the 89th or 90th consecutive month of job growth in the United States. It was the first of those months where the labor participation rate actually ticked up at all. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a national trend.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Jeannie, which of these, it seems like a lot of programs for 15 to 18 people to manage.
No, so that's the tip of the iceberg. So what happens is, so there are, I mean, everyone from, James comes to Global Z, to the hospital, to colleges, to Arlington High School, Mount Anthony, and all kinds of agencies. So they go back and they actually mobilize. Mm-hmm. So the people that are sitting around the table are the designees that then, designate individuals who then go back and say, hey, we want to do something about this. Let's
I see, that's the 15 to 18 you mentioned.
I think there are also a number of people that come, in and out depending on what the issues are that are being discussed. Mm-hmm. So someone may come for a year or for 6 months, and because there's one particular issue that they want to see, they want to see happening. So it really is a great group because you just don't show up unless you want an assignment. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If we had a particular windfall, which I don't imagine is likely, but if we came into a pile of money, is there one of these categories that you feel like we could really move the needle with?
I think adult. I think it's the adult population. I think it is things like building a relationship with Hudson Valley that would allow us to use their resources better in this community. I think there are a number of places where we could put more money into, startup trainings. We could do. I think there are a number of things on the adult side that we would do that we haven't been able to do.
I really,
Yeah, would you agree?
I'd like the sound of those programs.
I would absolutely agree, and I would note of the things listed on the workforce and training activities, those are done with almost no dollars in terms of investment. So I mean, that is really just people rolling up sleeves and diving in and saying, we're going to do this. And I think, Jeannie mentioned people coming in and out. One person who only comes in and is there every month is Representative Bill Bobstow. So we have the sitting chair of the House Commerce Committee who comes every single month, and every single month says, I come because it's my favorite meeting of the month, because people actually get things done, and when we come back next month, we know the 5 things that were on the checklist are going to be done, and we're on to the next 5. And I have heard him plenty of times in Montpelier saying the exact same thing. So I think that's evidence of what can be done by a group of volunteers with some focus and energy to try to move the needle on the local economy.
That's great. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you for the presentation, and I really appreciate the work you guys do at the school. I see it every year when last year I got to sit in, I think, on Dixie's presentation at the high school when you guys come in, and even this past fall when you guys had the financial summit, I had a student who missed my class, a sophomore, and when she came back, I said, how did it go? And she said, I didn't get a very good job and I didn't have a lot of money. And I was like, so what did that tell you? She's like, I need to get a better job, because she didn't have enough money to fill her budget, or she was trying to explain the process. So it's definitely making an impact on the students. And I think Jeannie, you answered my question when she asked, but I think the biggest challenge is that awareness after they graduate. I see a lot of students who graduate, maybe go off to the community college or college and then come home, and they're fantastic students, they're hard workers in the classroom, I know they've got a great work ethic, and they're working at a Walmart or a fast food, and they're not sure what to do, and they're like, I don't know what's available. And my first thought is, I don't know, obviously Department of Labor or some advertisements, but kids are instant gratification. They're clueless. They don't want to read that. And I know they have a good work ethic, but they want to just, I don't want to say spoon-fed to them, but that easy, like, hey, what's the quick info? And I don't know if there's been any digital media or social media stuff. I know my first thought was something like Cat TV does with the Bennington Maid. I've learned about the stuff with that award-winning program. Is there something about the jobs that are available of this community that we could partner with to say, hey, here are these, locally grown businesses that are looking for jobs, and the kids will see that stuff on Twitter and social media stuff. So, thank you.
These are great discussions. It's interesting too. We've got to go out and find not 51 CNC certified folks, but I think that's one of the challenges because that calls for investment in capital. I'm sure we don't have too many CNC machines out there, other than a couple of Dixies, right? But those are the investments that we as a state has to make if it wants to engage and retain employees. Because you look at, I think, the needs. Electricians, plumbers, that you'd mentioned earlier, CNC operators. When you're in high school, you're either thinking of when's the next weekend off, or what college am I going to get into. You don't think about these other real viable, make a real living, support your family undertaking, and our community needs that, because that it is a feeder to the quality of the community when you have a broad spectrum of employment opportunities. And I hear it's going there, but it's not something you can just say it's done. You're not going to have 51 CNC folks just because of the resources that we have.
I think that's an interesting and excellent observation. I think there are students, we know there's the traditional kind of 4-year degree track for students who are coming out of high school and plug into that. But nationally, we know that over 70% of the jobs to be created in the next 15 years are going to require less than a 4-year degree. And I think you'll see that really those are where we're trying to focus and plug the gaps with the workforce development activities that we're doing locally.
Yeah, that's really great. The other thing is these students that come out of these schools come with significant debt responsibilities, And somehow, the first jobs that you get are not probably going to be something that are going to be supporting a family, much less your Saturday nights. The essence of, that AmeriCorps idea, and I think there is discussion within the state of Vermont for sort of creating a Vermont Corps so that you keep folks in the state, and they have an obligation to the state. And during that time, hopefully they'll get so love it so much they won't leave. Can you just comment on what's happening relative to the opportunities within the state for tuition grant programs for, if that's even something you're
Yeah, so there's, I think under the current administration, that's not as hot a topic as it would have been had there been a different result in last November's gubernatorial election, but I think there are a number of things that are certainly in play. We have the dual enrollment opportunity, which allows high school students to take 2 college courses free of charge. So there's an opportunity for juniors and seniors, junior and seniors in high school to take college courses and begin to dip their toes in there. And I know that there are certain industries certainly looking at targeted opportunities along those avenues as well.
Great, thanks.
Tom, on process, this was a really great little report. I know you have a lot going on right now, all of BCIC does, but this was a really helpful little report, great little dashboard, and if anybody kind of else is wondering what we're getting for our money, this is a really nice piece, and I'm thankful to have it on a quarterly basis, so thanks for the extra effort there.
And the other part that I still would like to see is, we started out with the visitation, just to really get a feedback from the employers of all sizes relative to their ongoing experience with the community and the support that we're giving them. Because the visitations are fine, but I think we have to have critical comments back and also statement of their needs so that clarion call goes out to how we can possibly meet it.
Absolutely, and I think tonight's presentation is representative of that. It tends to lead with workforce, followed by workforce, and then workforce. That's really, that's what people are struggling with. And it's rural America. At some point, we're hoping in the Southern Vermont discussion, but at some point we know we're going to need to just, tackle this whole repopulation issue in some way, shape, manner, or form. Wendy mentioned it. The birth rate is not exceeding the death rate. People are moving out and not moving in. We need to get more younger people in the community, and we need to really start to establish some strategies to do that.
Great. I'd like to make one comment, if it's all right. That when I started Abacus back in 1985, I really wasn't aware of any local politics or anything like that. But over the years, BCIC loaned us nice space and helped us move along. And then when we built our building up on Shields Drive in 1999, the town was terrific. We used that revolving loan fund to help us build that nice facility. And since then, there's always been this disjointedness of all the Bs, Better Bennington and BCIC and BCRC, and it's always been quite confusing. And I think in the last few years, with the town, and with Bill and with BCIC and merging BCIC and BCRC, working together as closely, I really feel the town is really coming together, all working together, communicating better. And I attribute a lot of that to Bill and to you folks out here that are interested in what's going on. And thank you very much for all your, Stu, and all your hard work. It's heartening to me to see the growth of communication that was not there years ago.
And it will continue and expand. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it, Wendy.
Thank you for all the time this evening. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks, James. Thank you. It's great. I love that. Zerwatt, you're up for downtown designation renewal application. Thank you. It's great. I love it. We do it
have
every
here with
month.
me John Shanahan, since this is a joint application between the town and the
Yep.
Bennington Downtown.
Is that right?
Sorry. As I mentioned in the memo that I submitted to the select board, the town is up for the renewal of its downtown designation in March 2018. The way the process unfolds, we're asked by the Vermont Downtown Program, who manages this and administers this process, to submit a draft of the application, just so that, to get the process started and so that they know they have everything that they need from us come March. So we just submitted the first draft of the application, which is why you have a lot of my notes, and I think what we submitted of other things that I'll be sending their way in the coming months. Mainly, this is a designation that we've had since 2000, I understand, and that we renew every...
1994, I think, was the first.
Every day I learn something new.
Yeah, estimated. That's when the program started.
Okay, and so the renewal happens every 5 years, and I guess the main thing is this year the renewal meeting is taking place in Bennington in March 2018. So it's exciting that we don't just get to go to them; we get to bring them to our downtown. And I know there's a lot of exciting change and energy that we have to share with them. And one of the things I should add that I'm really hoping that we can showcase is not just the exciting energy in Putnam and other projects that are on the horizon, but also that we have an incredible Department of Public Works and building and ground staff at the town office that does incredible work to also keep our downtown looking the way it does, our roads and our buildings and everything. So I also really want to make sure that that part of a labor that we often forget is front and center in this. But I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I'm going to jump in real quick. I work with Gary from the Vermont Downtown Program all the time. The 5-year application renewal isn't so much them wanting to know what we're doing, because they know every day what we're doing. It's our relationship with the town and the town's investment in the community, which is why the application actually has to come from you. Zawat bringing up DPW and buildings and grounds and the town office staff is critical in the application. And I think we're going to sail through it because we're kind of tops in that area. And like Dixie was saying, we're known in the state for all working together and getting things done and communicating well.
What's the real bang for the buck? And this is important that the community hears for the designation of a downtown designation. What does that bring to the community, other than the work that we know that comes out of the community? What is it? What comes to us?
It opens the town of Bennington up for certain transportation grants, gives priority to the town when they do apply. It lessens some of the regulations and permit fees for signage, Act 250, even outside of the specific downtown designated district for housing within proximity of the downtown. Those are the big ones right off the top. But there's about 15, 20 benefits by having the designation.
And Dan can correct me on this, but I understand that our designation is something that certainly didn't hurt in the TIF application. Yeah, so without it, we could not have qualified for that.
Yeah. I think most of us knew most of that because some folks will say, is that just a plaque on the building? It's a lot more than that, obviously. And so that to maintain that, you've got to basically keep the oars in the water going in the same direction, right? How many towns in Vermont have that designation? Do you know?
28.
20?
28.
28, right.
Yeah. Thanks. There's different levels. We're at the largest level of the downtown designation. There's also village center and new growth centers. It's different levels based on the size of the towns.
Great. Thanks, John. Other folks? If all set for a motion for adoption and redesignation, I would like to entertain one.
So moved.
Great. Second. Carson. And a second. Further discussion, questions to either Zirwat or John?
Is there one more? What's the next opportunity for input from us? Do you need another opportunity for input?
We'll be coming back with, just before the final submission during the community agreement, when we get the signatures for the community agreement.
Okay.
And so they'll probably be a couple of weeks just before the final designation, so either end of March, February or early March.
Okay, so we're not expecting any changes, no map changes, no, everything else is...
The template
Yeah.
that you have is pretty much what we're going to go
Okay.
with. Some of it is just I have to update, for example, we'll have the town report in the new year, so I'll add that to this application. The final budget will probably go into it as well. So some of it is just updating new information as it comes along.
Great,
And
thank
then
you.
in March, Zawat brought up, it's the first time the Vermont Downtown Program's been down in southern Vermont, and it's going to be in Bennington. It'll be
March
Bennington, March 26th, Bennington, Wilmington, Brattleboro, all applying at the same time, where we do a physical presentation.
So is that like a meet and greet and demonstration?
You'll all be invited, yeah, and encouraged to be there.
Yep, good. Okay. Would anyone have any further questions on the application? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
That's 7 in favor of moving forward with the application for the downtown designation.
I do have a signature page that'll circulate.
Great, thanks, Steve.
Thanks for your work on
Thanks
that.
very much. Yep. We sit here every other Monday and we hear the presentations, but all of the work effort that goes not only in the presentations, but all the to prepare these applications and these petitions and the like, we sometimes shortchange that. I think it's important that we recognize that there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes.
Tremendous.
Manager's report.
Yes, I don't have any action items for you tonight, but I do, other than what you've got in your written report. I think it was interesting to note that the governor was in town today for a ceremonial turning on of one of the first connections to our new municipal water system for PFOA contaminated homes. He was here at 1 o'clock. I understand it went very well. I was not able to get out there to join them. But also, some very good news came today in a press release earlier in the morning. Southern Vermont College is now the proud owner of, or will be the proud owner of the Laumeister Center for the Arts. Wow. Bruce and his wife have donated the facility to Southern Vermont College, and that's pretty amazing situation, and I think something that's going to be really good for the college, but also for the community as well. And just one reminder, this is as much for the folks at home. Our next meeting will not be on Christmas. Normally,
Oh, come on.
I know. Gene, you pushed for it, but I'm sorry. It'll be December 19th, which is a Tuesday evening at 4:30, and we'll be meeting at the Bennington Rescue Squad. So for those members of the public who want to join us, please join us at the Rescue Squad. And it will be Linda Bermudez's last meeting as your...
No! What?
Right. But Nancy Lively will be taking her place going into the future.
Where are you going, Linda?
She's not going anywhere.
I'm killing you.
Doesn't like these
Oh, no.
I'll be available for special meetings.
Well, the quality of your work is really exemplary, and that's evident by the few grammatical changes or additions, spelling or otherwise, that particularly Gene brings to our attention. You do great work, and we really appreciate your
And, I think it's worth noting that my father doesn't show up to any of the meetings anymore.
Carson. Oh, did I jump? I didn't mean to jump.
What? Oh.
Sir.
I just have a question. The not-for-profit petition letter process?
Non-petition letter.
It is out. The application form and the new requirements plus the revised policy went out to all of the nonprofit agencies. We've actually begun to receive application forms. Some of the agencies have already petitioned. They got an early start on it, but we're seeing the application come back with the information that we requested in sort of a short format. And as you know, we'll be meeting with the rescue squad next week from Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, to talk a little bit about, in more detail, about their request and whether or not we place them on the ballot or in the budget itself, and that'll be determined in a week. But all of the others are coming in. When we look at the budget, we are anticipating level funding them, but we do have, I think, one of the petitioners has asked for more money, but they have their petitions in, so they'll go on the ballot for more money this particular year. So yes, it's out.
Thank you. That's all I had, other than congratulations to Southern Vermont College. I didn't know that. That's amazing news. Yep.
Carson? Nothing.
Be careful tomorrow. It's supposed to get a lot of snow.
Really?
The board's going to be real busy around Christmas. We are giving you that day off. But we've got a lot of activity that we're going to be faced with, starting with the Charter Committee, I expect is going to come with its recommendations possibly as soon as next Wednesday. And Stu reminds me that there is a hearing process that we have to start getting into the review process to get to the voters, the charter in its completeness or sections of it for the March vote, and we have to give some thought to that. So that may require at least an initial special meeting for the purpose of setting the timeline without getting into great detail that first meeting. But once we get the report, it'll be circulated to all of us so that we'll have that, and we can get informed about it, and then we'll have to really get into the process. And just right simultaneously, there happens to be the review of the budget request. That we've got those 2 dates already set up for Saturdays, and first Saturday and second Saturday in January, hopefully not the third one. And also I think we have the manager's evaluation process, which we'll get to post the budget discussion. And maybe there's some other things that I've forgotten, but we'll be in touch with you, but we probably will need a special meeting or two just to make sure we stay online with some of these things.
Yeah, we'll be seeing a lot of each other through the holidays.
Yeah. Plus it's Jean's birthday on
That's right.
the first meeting, so she likes how we interfere with her birthday every year. So here's another opportunity. We'll talk about it. It's another opportunity to make you have to stay home.
Thanks.
Stay away. Go ahead.
Some friends were teasing me the other day about how it seems like Bennington's always in the news nowadays. That was kind of nice to hear, but today was a big day. So the gift to Southern Vermont College is a huge gift, and it went to the college both without debt and with most of the artwork. So it positions them nicely to become a college with a really strong arts bent. So that's great. And it was also great to have the governor down here and turn on the tap water. I loved hearing on VPR tonight on the way to the meeting a report about the first tap being turned on in Bennington. That was great. And kind of lost in the shuffle, we also had down here today Anson Tibbetts, the Secretary of Agriculture, who a few of us were touring around Bennington County. We took him to a number of different farms and agricultural locations, and he was all pretty impressed with Bennington County. In particular, he liked going to Maplebrook Farm, the mozzarella place, which started in about 2003, just with an idea of making mozzarella, and now they've got 68 employees, and they're moving into a big plant, and they're shipping cheese all over the world, and they'd like to double in size, and so he was pretty impressed by that. It was good. It was a good day for Bennington.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, I just want to, I guess, I was so excited to read the paper today and see Bennington's newest pop-up, Green Table. It was a great article. It's a neat idea, and, kudos to
you guys,
Zerwatt and John for putting the effort in to make that happen.
Winter sports just kicked off this past weekend. Boys and girls basketball. I got to see both games in Rutland. Both teams look really good. Boys home opener I think is Wednesday. Varsity at 7. I think JV 5:30. So come check them out.
Great. You need an executive session? I think there is a need for a brief executive session on a matter of litigation. Is that correct?
That's
That
correct.
would not
Move we
be,
go into executive session?
okay. Yeah, we'll go into that. And is there anything else? Yes, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. You certainly can. Go ahead, Rose.
I don't understand why you can do all of these things, have all these things.
I'm sorry, the not for... You're talking about... Okay.
Doesn't say what to go down. You want people to go in there, you don't even have help your team. Don't make sense.
Well, we're going to count on you and Zerwatt, Jeannie, and the rest of us to change that if you feel that that happens that way. But we'll do what we can do. We're going to go into executive session. Okay. Thank you.
Do you vote?
Oh, vote into executive session. All in favor?
Aye.